When my oldest was 3 years old, she would tell us stories.
Yeah.
And those stories would last. I remember one lasted 35 minutes.
35 minutes. Wow.
And it just kept being, and then, and then, and then. And I didn't really feel like encouraging conversation then.
It happens sometimes. And so, you know what? Even in that, there are ways in which we could still acknowledge what's happening with the child and kind of redirect it a little bit. Sometimes it's like, oh, you know what? I think that when we wake up in the morning and we have our breakfast, we can continue this story. You know, we can, maybe you'll have a dream about something that happens with that magic dragon, and you'll tell me all about it in the morning. Or Aunt Sarah would love to hear this story. Let's call her. So again, it's not shutting it down to say, hey, I'm tired of hearing that. You need to be quiet. You know, we don't want to do that. We want to encourage them to use language, right? So there are ways, or you may just say, how about this? You know, mommy loves hearing your stories, and mommy's a little bit tired right now. Can we continue the story in the morning? That's, you know, just giving them a very real, practical way of letting them know I acknowledge you and I want to pick this up.
That's really awesome. Thank you so much for that, because I know a lot of parents, particularly now that we're with our children 24/7, probably are feeling, I used to call it like a steamroller of words, and they just come and flatten you and keep going. But you don't want to discourage them from talking to you, of course. So I really love those strategies of, I know your grandma or your aunt or uncle would love to hear this. Or
right?
yes, we got the FaceTime. Let's get them. So I was hoping you could help us to understand how conversation, like the back and forth, how does that support and encourage literacy? Because I really thought that literacy was just reading books.
Absolutely not. It's so much more than just reading a book. It includes communication. Literacy includes critical thinking, understanding the world around us. All of that is included in that. Reasoning is so much that goes into literacy. And so the more we talk and converse, have those exchanges, then we're setting our children up for lifelong success with not only literacy, but life as well. And so I've listed on the screen a couple of different ways that we can get it in. We can talk, read, sing, play, and these are different opportunities throughout our day that can happen. Just again, with our everyday routines, right? Mealtime, bath time, bedtime, just waking up in the morning, just everyday routines. It's not an additional thing that we're asking families to do. Sometimes it's just taking a look at what you're already doing and incorporating more language in that. I like to say you almost become like a sportscaster. You're calling the plays as you go. That's a great way to get in more words. You know, this is, as you're preparing a meal, talk through what you're preparing. That's a great way to introduce more language.
But I know I have read some things that said, look, you can play podcasts, or you can play, TV shows, educational shows, but your kids don't really learn from that. Is that true, that they really need an in-person conversation to learn from, and all the other sort of electronic and technological outlets aren't as effective?
Well, I'll say this. Sure, we can learn from technology. We're in 2021, so I would dare to say that, what home or family do you know that doesn't have some aspect of technology, right? But what I will say is this: nothing, and I do mean nothing, can replace human interactions. So what we're inviting our viewers, the families, to think about is ways that we can come alongside what's happening maybe with that device and incorporate the language. Maybe ask questions about what you're noticing or what the child may be seeing or things of that nature. And so we want to encourage those conversations, like you said, to go along with the use of technology. Right now, like you share, we're in the midst of the pandemic and everyone is a homeschool teacher right now, right? And so we're having to use technology to support what's happening in, schools and the home. And so we can't really get around it, in my opinion. But if we incorporate language with it, that's what makes the difference. That's what takes the learning to the next level. So we can learn from both, but nothing can replace human interaction. And then sometimes too, I have always try to show resources. I found these cute conversation cards. Sometimes if we're stuck, now I know we talked about when it goes on and how to bring it back in, but then there are also times where maybe someone feels stuck and the conversations aren't flowing as much. And so there are tools and tips and resources out there that we can tap into to help encourage those conversations where it may just be a prompt to a question of some sort, or like we said, think about your daily routines and what's happening and lean into those experiences and build conversations from there as well.
That's so helpful. And one other thing, parents, I don't know if you've had this situation when you've had like your small child talking to a grandparent and the grandparent says, "How was your day?" And the kid says, "Good."
Yep.
And then there's nothing else. So maybe if you would like to communicate